Good evening, everybody, and welcome to day 23, I believe. And today the theme is my worst colour. And my worst colour used to be green, but I've somehow become friends with it, or at least particular types of green. And so my worst colours are brown and orange. It's funny because I do love walnut granules, which are very brown, and I do love rust dyeing, which is very orange. But when it comes to paint, I really don't seem to be able to use brown and orange. And in fact, I would go so far as to say I don't think I own a brown pot of paint. And so when I'm wanting to make friends with or gain some familiarity with a paint or with a colour, I'll often do what I'm doing here, which is collaging. And at the moment, it might look a little bit like I'm just ripping and sticking bits of paper down, which of course I am. But you're going to see in a minute that I start to settle into doing collage in a slightly more purposeful way. And that is looking at the pictures and the pieces of paper that I have cut and really making considered choices as to where they can go. And so even in their most abstract form, they create a picture. So here you can see me, I'm cutting out this piece of orange and it's got three orange ovals on it that have got different patterns on them. And so I cut them out, and you're going to see them make an appearance later. And see if you can see how I give them purpose. See if you can work it out. So back to what I'm doing. I literally raided my stash of magazines. There's a few that I use. I love a matte magazine. I'm not fond of a shiny magazine. I'm looking when I'm collecting my images, I look for a few pieces that have just got some solid colour on them, and then I'm looking for little shapes. So here you can see this was a half circle. It's actually got like a knitting pattern on it. Here is a brown A. So sometimes I'm looking for shapes, sometimes I'm just looking for solid colour. And then I can use those shapes with intent. So that A that I've got there, this that I'm cutting out now, this is a little piece of tapestry, and I'm cutting along one of the lines of the tapestry, which is orange, and I'm going to use that to stick across that A so that that A isn't so in your face, so it's set back a little bit. So that's what I'm doing. I'm looking around, I'm looking for shapes, I'm looking for things that are going to make sense. Now, are you watching closely? Because those two little ovals with the patterns, the orange ones, are about to make an appearance. And they need a stage, because if I was just to stick them down now, they'd float around and they wouldn't have any purpose. So I cut these two dark brown squares out and I pop them on there. And as I'm doing this, as with all of these pebbles, I'm learning something. I'm learning about brown and orange. I'm learning about how I could make friends with it, what I need. And what I'm learning actually is that there's a lot of nature that comes to mind as I'm doing these. There's a lot of autumn or fire or things like that. And so maybe, just maybe orange might make an appearance later on in some pictures. I'm not sure. I never know quite what it would get along with. It does get along with pink quite well, but let's see. Anyhow, that's what I'm doing. Sometimes if I get a bit of pattern as I have here, this kind of orange checkered piece, I might cut a shape from it in order to accompany another shape, so it becomes a little bit of a frame around that half moon that you saw earlier. So I'm going to stick all my collage down, and then I'm going to do something else. I'm going to draw my pebble shape out. I'm going to use charcoal like I had done at the beginning, just softening that down. I'm then going to cut it out. And then what this little piece needs, this little piece of collage, and I find that all of my collages kind of need this, is it needs something to settle it down. At the moment, it's an erratic few bits of paper that are kind of just laying all over the place. So I need something to tie it all together, something to settle it down, and for me that's always my white pen. Now, I want you to notice what I do with it, because quite often in the early stages of creativity and um, using pen mark to bring things together, quite a lot, people choose to kind of really overload their piece. They suddenly outline everything with white or scribble all over it, and actually that's not needed. Just a few lines, and you're going to see I make my lines, they almost look like little stitch marks over my piece. I put them down, and I think it just settles the whole thing. Let me know what you think, and tell me in the comments, what's your worst favourite colours? Is there a combination that you don't like, or is there just a colour that you just never paint with? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you tomorrow.